So,
which brings us to Top Cat.
Yes, well, I'm looking forward to this. Boss Cat, then.
Yeah. So the cat is back is the tagline over here, although the tagline apparently is Aquí el gato encarado, because, of course, this is Mexican production. It turns out, who knew, that Top Cat was much bigger in Mexico than anywhere else. And apparently this is from trivia, so this is the first time that Warner Brothers have allowed another company to use one of its licensed characters in a movie. So turns out, huge big following in Mexico, so Mexican animators get together to make this, and then it's dubbed into the English language version that we saw here. Of course, as everyone knows, Top Cat itself, Boss Cat, had a sort of passing relationship with Sergeant Bilko, so that's kind of it. So it's people do. So what you have now is people doing impressions of the original Top Cat cast, which was people doing impressions of Sergeant Bilko. Here's a clip.
Here comes my new chew toy. Uh-oh. You can say goodbye to a couple of those 9 lives, Top Cat.
Hey, my old pal Griswold. What'd they get you for?
Overdue library book.
Ah, well, that doesn't sound so bad.
The book was called How to Eat Cats in Prison. You're dead!
Hey, buddy, your girlfriend's here to see you. She's got a tail collar and says bark.
Ah! Woohoo! That's my girlfriend! I've been waiting 20 years to see her! Thanks a lot, buddy! I'm coming, people!
That was a bit wearying, that was.
So this is...
So I quite like to hear the Top Cat impression. That was quite nice.
This is Anima Studios and Illusion Studios Mexican origins, his first film to release in English language theatres. Also, the first ever Flash animated film to be converted and released in Real D.
What does that mean?
Well, it means it's a shame that it's, with all those firsts behind it, it's such utter rubbish.
What's Real D?
Well, it's one of the 3D processes, isn't it? There's Dolby 3D and there's Real D and there's different ways. It's all 3D, right? The thing, I can't imagine. Here's the problem, right? Firstly, it's rubbish. Secondly, it takes an old format animation that people absolutely loved for its old format flat animation, and then turns it into 3D in exactly the same way as we were talking last week about what's it called, Tales of the Night. I think Tales of the Night, in which you've got cut out flat screen animation but done in 3D, so it just made it's flat things on opposing places. There's no point in the 3D in Top Cat whatsoever. None. Nobody wants to see Top Cat in 3D. Nobody ever watched Top Cat and said, "Oh, this is really great, need to see it in 3D." So the fact that it is the first Flash animated film to be converted into 3D doesn't make any difference because it's rubbish. Secondly, it's rubbish. Thirdly, who, other than us, remembers Is Top Cat got a big young following? Do you know that?
Not as far as I'm aware.
Okay. I mean, has it been on television recently? Have you seen it on TV? Have you, whilst flicking through the shopping channels or the one that you do blockbusters on, at any point...
Challenge TV, Channel 175.
Thank you. At any point, have you come across...
8 o'clock
Offers of
every
Dibble?
evening.
Have you come across any of that? No. So,
no, I haven't.
For the people that remember Top Cat, you're going to go, that's not Top Cat, why is it 3D? And none of these jokes are any good. For the people who don't, do they remember Top Cat anyway? They're not going to know anything about it. Whilst I was sitting there, here's the 2 most entertaining things that happened in the screening. First one was, there is a moment when there's one good joke, when the screen goes black, and then you hear Benny go, "There's that eclipse I read about in the paper."
Yeah.
The laughter almost started. And secondly, I started thinking that when I used to do the radio show with Danny Baker used to do a running thing about what is that line in the theme tune. Close friends get to call MTC, bing, ding, bing, ding, finger to bing.
That one?
Yeah, what is that line?
I've got no idea.
Well, it's providing it's with dignity. And then I thought, I can't believe this. In the middle of it, this is what I'm thinking about. I am thinking about a radio show that I was involved in 15 years ago and a live... That's how bad it is. So there was one laugh. I did laugh. I laughed at the gag about the eclipse, which I have just spoilt. I would be very interested to know whether any of the, in inverted commas, target audience think that the Mexican animated English dubbed doing an impression 3D Top Cat has any life outside of that, because I just sat there thinking... of all the things I didn't want in the world, this is pretty much top of the heap. Providing it's with dignity.
But we are the target audience.
Well, that's what you'd think, right? But no, clearly not, because did you know and love Top Cat?
Yes, and was baffled every week as to why that
Boss
card
Cat
came up and said
Yeah,
Boss
and that
Cat.
was-
But it was
that-
funny. It was
That was a thing that over here, because it was Top Cat, the brand, they had to change it and pretend that it was actually called the Boss Cat. Not just Boss Cat, the Boss Cat.
Well, it was just nonsense.
Yeah, it was absolute nonsense. It is Top Cat. Or over here, as I said...
But it was quite fun.
Yeah, Top Cat in its, cartoon format on the television, in flat screen, with people doing impressions of it, was funny. This, not funny. Not funny.